Welcome back to Anything You Want, the place where cameras fade and the human story takes center stage. If you're new here, please subscribe, click the join button to support our work, and hit like if you value stories told with tenderness. Leave a comment below and tell us, do you think stars owe the public every detail of their lives, or do some moments deserve to remain private? There are moments in a public life when the world feels obliged to lean in: premieres, awards, declarations captured by flash and microphone. And there are other moments, rarer and more sacred, when an individual chooses to turn away from the glare and keep his joy for himself. This is the latter kind of moment. For Gökberk Demirci, the actor whose performances have embroidered the small screen with intensity and restraint, Fatherhood arrived not as a headline but as a hush, a joy carefully held and guarded until the time to share it came. Reports that the actor had become a father circulated quietly, first as rumor and then, with the inevitable velocity of social media, as confirmation. What astonished many, however, was not merely the news of a newborn but the way the news had been kept, reportedly from friends, from colleagues, and even from wider circles that usually know everything. Gökberk is said to have clasped this life-changing secret close, as if protecting a fragile glass ornament from an intrusive crowd. The reason behind that choice reveals as much about the man as the revelation itself. Those who know him speak of a temperament that resists spectacle. Gökberk's rise, steady, deliberate, devoid of manufactured controversy, has always suggested a man who prefers craft over gimmick, substance over sensation. Sources inside his creative circle say that when the news came, his first thought was not the public narrative but the shape of the home he wanted to create: calm, private, and safe. Why hide a child in an age where every newborn photo can be monetized and each personal detail used for clicks? For Gökberk, the answer seems to have been straightforward: some beginnings are too delicate to be performed. To welcome a child means to open a life, and sometimes opening requires that the world remain politely shut. How did his colleagues react? With surprise at first, followed by something more tender: admiration. Many in the industry applauded Gökberk's decision to delay public disclosure, not out of secrecy but out of protection. He wanted the first weeks to belong to them, one crew member said. No cameras, no press. Just family. That choice, remarkably, set the tone for the public's response: gratitude rather than indignation, curiosity tempered with respect. The trajectory of Gökberk's career has been the kind that makes tabloids hungry but leaves gossipers with little to gnaw on: a measured ascent, committed performances, and a reputation for being professional and present on set. But parenthood, according to those near him, has rearranged the list of priorities. Offers were reportedly declined. Schedules were reshaped. Even small daily choices, which scenes to accept, which nights to stay late, now pass through a new filter: what is best for the child. Gökberk and Özge's romance was never a headline factory. Their relationship grew in private, whispered conversations between scenes, rare photographs only when necessary, family gatherings rather than public declarations. For them, privacy was not merely a strategy but a posture, a way of honoring what mattered most. The couple's decision to keep their life away from relentless scrutiny is what allowed them to bring a child into the world without turning the hospital corridor into a studio set. Insiders reveal that the idea of marriage had been discussed in earnest, plans had been sketched, dates considered, families consulted. Then life offered a different sequence: child first, ceremony perhaps later, and both partners embraced the detour with equanimity. They were building a life, one source said, not a storyboard. social media offers a spectrum of reactions to any celebrity news, and this announcement was no exception. What stood out, however, was the tone. "He'll be an amazing father," read one comment. "Let them breathe," read another. Gone were the vitriolic flashes that sometimes accompany celebrity privacy. In their place was tenderness that felt almost protective. No portrait of this private chapter is complete without honoring Özge Yağız, who, according to confidants, carried the pregnancy with resilience and grace. Within the intimate circles that witnessed the couple's preparation, Özge is remembered as steady and luminous, someone who preferred the experience of becoming a mother over the spectacle of announcing it. Her approach mirrored the couple's shared belief that life's tender moments deserve presence, not performance. Insiders describe her as the emotional axis, calm in labor, focused afterward, and resolute about the future. That steadfastness became the anchor for both of them, and for the little family they are now protecting. This possibility invites an intriguing question for supporters and skeptics alike. In a culture that rewards exposure, can a small, private wedding still be the most meaningful? For Gökberk and Özge, the answer appears to be yes. There is a growing conversation here about celebrity and consent. Do public figures forfeit their right to private milestones simply because their faces are known? Gökberk's decision suggests otherwise. It argues that fame does not erase the need for sanctuary, and that sometimes, the most humane act a public person can undertake is to create boundaries for the sake of those they love. Perhaps the most poignant element of this unfolding narrative is the way parenthood recast Gökberk's identity. Once a man defined by his scenes and scripts, he is now being redefined by nightly feedings, by lullabies learned in whispered rehearsal, by the kind of devotion that is rarely visible on screen. Colleagues note that where ambition once dominated his conversation, an instinctive devotion now shapes his choices. For Özge, the path forward seems similarly centered on balance, continuing a career that has won her praise, while curating a private life that protects their child. The couple's next public steps, a statement, a photograph, a small video, may come when they feel the timing is right. Until then, they appear content to let their domestic life define the narrative. Celebrities are often reduced to caricatures of themselves, but moments like this remind us that fame and family can coexist without becoming indistinguishable. Fans have responded not with sensationalism but with benediction, messages wishing health, serenity, and a life lived at their own pace. In a world quick to pry, that reaction is telling. As we watch this gentle story unfurl, we are reminded of a simple truth. Behind the roles in the headlines are human beings who yearn for similar things as the rest of us: tenderness, privacy, and the chance to raise a child away from the tumult. Dear viewers of Anything You Want, we want to know, do you think public figures should always tell their fans about life milestones as they happen, or are there moments that should be intentionally private? Share your perspective below. We read every comment and build our conversations together. If this feature touched you, please like, subscribe to Anything You Want, and consider pressing join to support more stories that look beyond the headline. Your engagement helps us continue to bring thoughtful, humane coverage to stories that matter. Picture this: a small hand finding its way to a finger, a father learning a lullaby while the night hums outside, a couple exchanging glances that no camera could capture fully. That is the image that will remain when the headlines fade, a private scene of devotion that will quietly shape two lives for decades to come. Fame rotates, family endures. For Gökberk Demirci, the most transformative role of his life has quietly begun behind closed doors. Thank you for watching Anything You Want. Stay kind, protect the tender things, And remember, sometimes the best news is the one you keep safe until it is ready to be shared.